guys, it's Kari. How are you all? Today we're gonna get really cozy to talk about something that I've had on my mind for a long time. As you probably know, I've been living in Korea for the last 5 years and I just recently moved home. And as I was living in Korea, working full-time for the first time in my life, getting used to living in a foreign country and figuring out how to make a life for myself in a totally different environment, I had a lot of struggles with mental health as I was moving there, and I even ended up doing therapy for the first time in my life while I was living abroad. I wanted to talk about some of my experience while I was living abroad and also some of the things that you should be prepared to face as you contemplate whether or not you want to move to South Korea or Asia or any other country. So my first biggest struggle was the actual physical moving abroad. You have to pack all your things into a suitcase and lug it to the airport, and when you get there, you're the only one that's there to deal with your belongings and also figure out how to navigate the surroundings and figure out how to get to your hotel or your accommodations. So the biggest stress that I remember when I first moved to Korea was when the airport stuff, the visa stuff, the orientation stuff was all done and I was finally in my apartment alone and I could finally just relax because I had been running nonstop for a week. I remember I looked around at my empty ass apartment and I just started crying, like thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Am I going to be able to survive here? I'm literally all alone. I don't know what to do. Where do I even get groceries? Where do I even begin to unpack? That was like the biggest thing for me. And I remember that was one of my like core recent memories because I feel like that was a moment where I really had to like pull myself up by my bootstraps and figure out how to like get my life together and get my life settled. The second aspect I wanted to talk about is the language barrier. If you decide to take a job teaching in Asia, typically Korea or Japan or Thailand or China, there are going to be some language barriers based on where you are. Not all the work placements are always going to be in big cities, so in a lot of countryside places, suburban or rural areas, there tends to be less English speakers. As such, you have to put yourself out there to learn the language, and also it is a struggle because as you're going through the physical mental stress of moving, trying to learn a new language and getting a hold of the work routine is really stressful and really overwhelming. So before you move there, I would definitely encourage you to take a look at the language, pick up some language books. Even if you decide to pick up the language and study it while you're in that home country, a lot of the resources will not be written in your native tongue. So if you are more comfortable learning in English or you're more comfortable learning in French or other languages, it's best to pick up language resources before you move. The next part I want to talk about is the concept of making friends in a foreign country. Oftentimes you are going to be forced to make friends with whoever you work with or live closely with, and it kind of blurs the boundaries of work and personal life because you're just so limited to the amount of people you can interact with on a daily basis. Of course, it's really great to have that work community there and have that tight-knit neighborhood community, but it's also really good to make friends that are not entirely related to your work and everyday life so that you can sort of step away from it and detach from it when you are off work. And I feel like one of these struggles of living in another country is that the expat community tends to be quite small. There are a lot of typical expats that you'll meet along your journey, and it takes some time to sort of pick out which ones actually match you as a close friend. Another aspect is that if you don't have a close community, you do have to do everything by yourself, and things like going to the bank, going to the post office, going to immigration, even immigration in certain areas, those officers might not always speak English or your native tongue. The problem with doing everything on your own is not the independent part. It's more so that even if you try to pick up the language, you're not going to learn all of the official terms to do these big girl adult responsibility procedures, and it's going to just be a huge struggle on your own. So when it comes to going to the bank or going to immigration or going to any neighborhood center where you need help with your house or help with your visas, I would recommend looking up some set terms that are really important that you need to know and having those translated for you, or just picking up a couple of phrases that are very basic but very useful. Another thing is, don't be hesitant to pull out a translator app when you don't know what's going on. There are a lot of really helpful translator apps these days, and they can literally translate on the spot listening to whoever is speaking into the mic. So translator apps are literally a lifesaver. I think the most important aspect of dealing with mental health and the mental strains of moving abroad is that even if you're struggling abroad in another country, those countries might not view mental health discussions as openly as your home country. And a lot of times when it comes to workplace settings, not all workplace settings and not all companies are very open to having that mental health discussion or giving mental health support. A lot of times it's just about getting the work done, and people tend to be afraid to approach you if they know that you are the foreign teacher. I would say that it does help to rely on friends and family back home. Time zones are a pain, but if you're able to schedule certain times to reconnect with people that are from your previous communities, that can also be a really big support system for you as you're living abroad by yourself. As well, nowadays on Facebook and on Meetup and other apps, there are a lot of resources where you can meet up with people in your area. Meetup is an app where you can choose hobbies and find local group meetups that are happening. As well, I know friends that have used Bumble just to meet other friends. Like on Bumble, you can set up what kind of relationships you want to look for. You don't have to look for romantic relationships. You can actually swipe to actually connect with friends that are in your area. And also, if you're not close with any of the teachers in your school, it's helpful to create something like an English club. So there are a lot of Korean teachers that are interested in learning English. They might teach history, they might teach phys ed, they could be part of administration, and this is one of the things that I ended up doing in one of my first schools. I ran an English club for the teachers about 1 to 2 hours once a week, and all we did was sit together, have tea, have snacks. They brought me any words, themes, or phrases that they wanted to practice in English, or any cultural topics they wanted to talk about. And that was one of my fondest memories, because when I was a foreign teacher in my school, most of the times you're the only foreign teacher in your school, and I did feel really lonely going to work sometimes. So I felt like the little teachers club actually gave me a lot of support and happiness on a daily basis. Also, another thing is if you're traveling in a foreign country, it helps to feel your hobbies and travel a lot. When I was living abroad, I stopped making videos because I was so busy traveling all the time and running around to go to museums and galleries in Seoul, go to concerts, go to meetups with friends that are in other cities. Going out there, getting vitamin D, exploring with friends, and just getting out of your comfort zone, that is something that can really improve your mood. Finally, the biggest tip that I can tell you when you're living abroad is that you need to do your research. Every place is different, every city, town, community is different, so if you do your research, you'll be able to mitigate your shock and your cultural shock when you get there, because culture shock is definitely something that will have a big impact on you anywhere you move. Certain times, even if you move from West Coast to East Coast, the way people live are really different, and the sort of ecosystem in each community is very unique as well. So the more research you do, the more prepared you'll be, and I am always someone who is extra prepared because I tend to catastrophize, like what is the worst case scenario that could happen, and I run through all the possibilities and I research every single aspect and I pack for everything. Like I'm that person that has emergency kits for everything. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this informal video of me talking, and I hope that it was somewhat helpful to you and that it somehow ends up coming out of the editing process being more organized than I feel that it is right now. And if you guys did like this video, don't forget to subscribe for more. Here and there, I will be making more videos about Korea because I really want to document my experiences there and the sort of reflections that I've had moving abroad and coming home. And I feel like it'll be really great in posterity when I look back on them. So anyways, more videos to come about Korea and lifestyle and games and anime and dramas. And if you guys are looking forward to more, I will talk to you guys in my next video very soon. Bye!